who is a Young Living distributor that you refer will get all of the free panels for the Young Living oil. So that's a $300 set, and if they get the Quantum Infinity from joining us, if they decide to do that, they'll get all the panels so that they can build their business. So that's another resource for you. Mary Lee asks, will the Young Living be recorded and in the same place? Will all the class recordings be in the same place? I'll work on that. That's actually something I can do because I can give people access to all the recordings. So Mary Lee, you always have such good ideas. Thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate it. So this month I have the assemblage point class. I want to talk a bit about the assemblage point, and we're going to look at the assemblage point via the Quantum Infinity. So as I've said before, I have a PowerPoint as we did on Tuesday, and I'm just going to spend a bit of time on it, but I want to make some different comments than I did on Tuesday, so we'll talk about that. But send me your information if you want me to work on your case. Don't be shy if you have something you want me to have your toe hurts or something like that, or you want me to work on you, or you want us to be thinking about you collectively, or if you have somebody in your family who needs support or work, then don't hesitate to send me their information. I love working on cases. It's like a moving meditation. It's so fun to work on cases. So, and I really want to give you more ideas so I can even show you some cases if we don't get any volunteers. Because there's some different ways of working through cases, and I want to show you working in 3-minute increments in like a layered approach, working in 3-minute increments versus working in a multi-element phase. So we'll talk a bit about that. This month I have a wonderful class called Reclaiming Your Assemblage Point. When you go through this class and you actually work on your own assemblage point, a lot is going to change in your life. So you become, as you work on this area located in the area of the heart chakra, and you learn about the different practices, including working with the Quantum Infinity and Young Living oils that help to move the assemblage point back to its rightful place, you will begin to become a magnet for more creative energy, for a more prosperity. You'll become a more clear channel. It is a profound area to work on in the body. In fact, it's a sacred area. And I want to bring this to you because I want you to recognize that moving the assemblage point back to its rightful place is an important part of the healing process. So if you have someone who has a chronic illness who cannot heal, this is often because the assemblage point is stuck. And we'll be talking to you about the 8 different brain lobe circuits and about how you can adjust those, what those mean, how you can turn them on, but also about balancing the brain waves. When the brain waves, for example, slow into the alpha phase, that is very conducive to moving the assemblage point back into its correct position. So meditation, people who meditate are much more likely to have that assemblage point in the proper place. However, people who drink alcohol and have addictions, or people who've been sexually abused or emotionally abused, this will throw the assemblage point far out of balance. And so we are going to go through a process to help to initially bring it really back into alignment, which is a profound process and can make a huge shift in a person's life. But we'll be understanding more about what the energies are that help to keep the assemblage point where we want it to be, the optimal location for the optimal energy flow into the body. That will be facilitated through very specific Young Living oils. So we'll be using the oils to hold the assemblage point over a period of time. And we'll be also using the oils to clear the habitual reasons out why the assemblage point moves in the first place. So when people, if you have the assemblage point adjusted, and then you go back to your old habits, or you still have emotional blocks, then the minute that you help this person, right, it's already going back to where it was, or it's already beginning to move out of balance because they've not been able to break through some of their emotional blocks, their places where they're stagnant. So that's where emotional clearing, Young Living Oils all come in to help with this wonderful, amazing energy center. So as you can see, if this point is moved from this general area to the left or to the right, it creates different types of emotional and physical imbalances. I believe in the future, all medical professionals will recognize the assemblage point. This is just the first foray into it. And there are different types of techniques. John Whale is really the first person to really bring this to our attention in a big way. And you can read his books, and I'll be referring to his books during the class. And he has come up with, for those of you who went to the Sedona conference, and you had the gem therapy, if you sat under the gem lights and you had the gems running through your heart chakra and your brain, that gem instrument is used to help to facilitate the assemblage point. But we're going to use the quantum infinity through emotional clearing, the Young Living Oils, in order to bring a similar effect. That's an $8,000 piece of equipment, so not all of us have access to that, so we're going to do it in a different way. So that is a 4-class program that's designed to teach you how to do it for yourself, but also it will describe the process, the step-by-step process, so you can help other people. There will also be some very specific panels that you'll be able to use, and I'm going to show you some of those. So you'll be getting assemblage point panels that you can utilize for your client and for yourself, and this will be part of the process. So I really encourage you to join me for this class, and it starts next Wednesday. It starts on the 20th of July. It's 4 classes. There'll be some important handouts, some guides of the process for you to use, and these will be handouts you can also give to your client. So I like to make things turnkey. I like to make things practical so you can use to bring yourself more abundance. The link is down below, and I'll send the link again momentarily so it's easy to find. And I'll be following up with some articles about the assemblage point, and you'll be getting an email later on today telling more about the class. So, and if you want to contact me about it directly, I will be sending you my email as well. Okay, so let's look at just a few of those frequencies that we're going to be working with for the assemblage point class, and then we'll go into, I see we have some requests for some classes, so fantastic, we'll go into those as well. You guys have some comments. I see some volunteers for cases. And okay, we've got some great volunteers. What time is it on the 20th? It starts at 5 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Central, and 8 o'clock Eastern time. All right, so here are some of the assemblage point panels that we'll be working with. And these have been really interesting, the things that have been coming up. We've definitely got depression associated with a misalignment of the assemblage point, that the hormonal system is affected by a misalignment, and people will often be able to tell you when they think their assemblage point really went wonky for them, when it really went out of balance. There was some traumatic or stressful point in their life. We're also going to be bringing in a discussion of brain frequencies. And brain frequencies that are too low or too high can cause the assemblage point to go out of balance. So we really want to talk about promoting optimal brain waves and brain frequencies, which we'll be talking about in the class. And there'll be a bunch more assemblage point panels. I'm working on the optimal ones this week. So let's look at a case and answer some of your questions. And good, I see all your messages, so people who I'm going to be emailing or calling today, I'll definitely be in touch with you. And here is my email if you want to get in touch with me for any reason. And we'll be doing some cases. If you sent me some information for a case, please send me what the thing is you want me to work on, and we'll definitely work on that momentarily. You know, I also just want to remind you guys that that genetically modified foods are definitely something that I know is on your mind, something that you're thinking about. And I want to remind you that glyphosate, that chemical that's in Roundup and has been, you know, it's in, you know, all of those GMO seeds are Roundup ready. So glyphosate is sort of everywhere, pervasive in the environment. And I just want to take a moment to remind you that you can use your Quantum Infinity to clear glyphosate residue from your body, from your being. So you can, we're going to do this momentarily. Let's do this together and we'll do an example. But I really strongly encourage you to do that on a regular basis. And you can even clear your food. You can actually enter food into the Quantum Infinity and you can test it and you can clear it. So the way that you do that is you enter the food in the name in the client area, and sounds strange, but you take a picture of it and you estimate it as the date of birth would be the time that the food was grown or created, which is an estimate. You know, the Quantum Infinity works in the morphogenic field, so you can do this and it's quite powerful to see the results. So let's just look at that for a moment. I'm going to use my digestive panels. There we go. Okay, so if for those of you who have the digestion panels, we have this one called, I think it's in digestive assessment. Okay, so we have one here, which is GMO exposure. So I want to create another one, and you can just create this anywhere that you want to. You may want to add other things, but I want to put in here glyphosate residue. And so this is one that you can create in your own category. You might want to create your own category of toxins or whatever it is. And this is a really good one to clear for yourself on a regular basis. Maybe it won't even come up. But I do find that in my naturopathic practice and studies that glyphosate is everywhere and it's having very serious effects on human health. It may be sort of one of the multifactorial factors in autism. There we go. It isn't really very strong here. Us collectively, some of us must eat very good food. But if it comes up for you, I would definitely run it for like 3 minutes a day. The other thing that you can do with, remember to imprint your frequencies. You don't need the imprinter to do this. You can use the Geo wristbands. But remember to take your frequencies and put them into water and drink them the rest of the day, or drink them after you do a session, because both receiving the frequencies and taking them internally in water is really powerful. Water is incredibly impressionable. So as you put those frequencies into, this would be, this is the perfect antidote. When you do this, it's not that you're taking in glyphosate residue, you're actually taking in the antidote. It's like the homeopathic remedy for glyphosate residue. Like cures like. So we're using this frequency as a homeopathic, just as we would use homeopathic mercury to clear mercury from the body. So don't mistake this. You could also just do, it depends on how you want to word it, but you can do perfect glyphosate clearing. That would be another way to say it. But I just want you to be aware that this is a huge issue right now that we're facing in naturopathic medicine about like what to do about it, because you almost can't get away from it, because if the person next door to you isn't spraying it, and you might be consuming it via the food supply. Okay, so that's another thing I want you to think about. Let's look at some of the cases that we have here and some of the comments. Where do you put the geopads? Do you put them on the water or under or beside? Yeah, you can open up those wristbands and you could put it under the water. You could put it next to the water. I've taken the wristband and I've wrapped it around the water. Those are all perfectly acceptable. With the water imprinting, do you need to put them on the water or just nearby? I mean, you want to get as close as possible, so I like, for the wristbands, I like actual contact with them. OT, have been having a problem emailing the report from Quantum, have checked my email and definitely on Wi-Fi. So Mary Lee, the deal with that is two things. First of all, the program was crashing for a while. So let's just take this technical. First of all, to send a report, and we don't have anybody's personal information up here. To send a report, you use this button here up here at the top right. You hit the report page. So what was happening about 2 weeks ago is that this function was crashing. And when we hit the report page, it would just crash out of the program. You have to have your iOS updated to the very latest version. That's going to be really important. And now that has been corrected. So it's really functioning, hopefully, it's functioning and working at this point. So that's how you, and then you just send the email. And then the other thing that you said about it, I've checked my email inbox and it's definitely on Wi-Fi. This is a weird thing that sometimes happens with your iPad, and it happens to me like when I'm trying to prepare a class. Sometimes your iPad, when you send it to your email, I don't know what happens. There's probably some technical thing that somebody else would be able to figure out. But if you turn your iPad off and then turn it back on, when it goes back on, it seems to send all of the mail that's waiting there. So I don't know why sometimes that doesn't happen, where it doesn't go through. But if you'll turn the iPad off and then turn it on when it resets, you'll find those emails in your box. Okay, somebody says they can't hear anything. I don't know about that. All right, let's do this case, and I'll take more of your questions. And I think, all right, Kelly, you have a case here, so I'm going to do that one. And let me take this offline for a second. So let's just put the information about the assemblage point series up here. Again, I just want to remind you how powerful biofeedback is. I'm really trying to get some more videos out about energy medicine and about resonance because, again, you know, we sometimes think about lab tests, and we talk about lab tests and, you know, well, is this the equivalent of lab tests? Is it as good as lab tests? What we're going to find out, you guys, eventually is that lab tests are not nearly as accurate as biofeedback. And we're not probably ready for that information in the Western world yet. But the truth is that there are lots of things that cause labs to change. Here we go. I'm sorry about that. There are lots of things that cause our labs to be inaccurate. And labs are only accurate, you know, 40 to 50% of the time, if that, because there are a lot of different things that change. The blood changes with the time of day. It's very temporal. It's very based on you know, where the sun is. It's based on your circadian rhythm, where your thyroid hormone is. So if you go to get your thyroid hormone drawn in the morning, it could be quite different from getting it drawn in the middle of the afternoon or the evening. If whatever it is, there's all types of binding globulins, things that keep different hormones bound in the blood. So the blood is like one of the most inaccurate ways of testing. That's why a lot of different alternative medicine practitioners have turned to saliva, or when they check cortisol, they have to get 4 samples so that they can see the cortisol rhythm in the morning compared to the cortisol rhythm in the evening. But energetic testing, asking, let's be really clear here for all of us who can have this type of a conversation. The quantum infinity or biofeedback technique is a way of asking the universe. It's a way of asking universal consciousness, which delivers us pretty resonant information in return. Of course, it's in the interpretation of that information that, we might hit some bumps in the road. And so that's where we try to use education as a way of becoming better at interpreting the information. Some of the information about physiology, some of the classes that I teach help to enhance your understanding of dentistry, of the tooth, or the physiology in the body, how the heart works, how the respiratory system works. That's what we really seek to do. So I want you to continue to have more and more faith that what you're doing is very powerful. Running biofeedback is making a difference. It is having an impact on the person you're working on, perhaps more than supplemental medicine, perhaps more than supplements, certainly better than pharmaceuticals. And every supplement, whether it is pharmaceutical or herbal, and particularly if it's a synthetic supplement, but even herbs, they have side effects, and they have suppressive effects. Really, the only thing, the most pure form of therapy in a way, is water fasting. If you want to give something physical that people can do that doesn't have any downside or any side effects, try, water fasting. But other than that, even if you're giving them dandelion or milk thistle, you could still have a downside effect. So that is to say that with energy medicine, there is no downside. The body knows how much to accept. It knows what to reject. So energy medicine is really, really powerful, and I just want you to remember that when you're running biofeedback with people, you are changing and shifting their lives in a very, very powerful way. So our case for today, we have a gentleman who is either, he's over 70, so he's in his early 70s. He has blood clots, breathing issues. We think that liver gallbladder emotions are causing the liver to shut down the stomach and to shut off the energy to the lungs. Now, that's a really interesting statement right there, so let's linger on that for a moment. Her best assessment is that the liver gallbladder issues, we don't see liver come up here, but that's okay, are causing the liver to shut down and the stomach to shut off energy to the lungs. Okay, so that's like an interesting sort of a Chinese medicine assessment. So let's look at the meridians and see what's going on meridian-wise. So again, I like to do the risks, and I'm going to go back and talk about the risks in a moment. We definitely saw cardiovascular stuff come up. We are doing this remotely, assuming that you have permission to work on this person. I'm sure you do, because it's somebody you've been working on for a while. So the meridians are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful testing. We see that heart meridian, my goodness. So that heart meridian is quite low. In fact, it's the lowest one. Remember, your low numbers, if you only ran the lowest number, it would be incredibly powerful, because it's like your low number is like your linchpin. It's what everything else is sort of coalescing around. So if you get overwhelmed by all of the things going on, look at heart. And then this isn't just up here as a pretty picture. This is actually tells you information about what you're discovering, although it is a pretty picture. And so this tells us that the heart is connected to other things, right? So the heart is connected to spleen and stomach, and the heart is connected, interestingly enough, like you said, to liver and gallbladder. So there's, an important connection there that you were referring to, Kelly. And we see spleen is out of balance, which is related over here. Sorry, over here. We don't see the liver, interestingly enough. I wonder if he's been working a lot on liver recently, if you've been helping him with that, because I just don't see it. I don't see the issues in the liver meridian or the gallbladder. That being said, I think it's going to be really powerful to, even if you just run the heart meridian. What would you run the heart meridian with? You could do a multi-element phase to the solfeggio frequencies, or you could do a multi-element phase to the toroidal field. because when you run one meridian, you affect all the other meridians. It's holographic. There is no disconnection from the other ones. So that if you ever get overwhelmed, what should I run? Am I running enough things? Just run one thing or run 3 things. And that's really powerful. You can also work your sessions in 3-minute increments. So you could run this just for 3 minutes, and then you can move on to another topic. When you do that, you are peeling layers. You're allowing the energy field to go at a nice pace. It doesn't really matter what rectification you get, but you could look at that as something interesting. In other words, if you balance for 3 minutes and they've sailed through it, then wonderful. But if they've only gotten to, 10% of rectification overall from alignment, harmony, and energy flow, that doesn't mean you want to just keep jamming on that particular frequency. It's probably a good idea to go to a different topic. And so that will be sort of about your intuition, what is the right thing to go to next. Remember, your intuition is your own way of tapping into your own quantum infinity. You're tapping into the universal consciousness, what feels right. Well, the heart, I'm sort of feeling like it would be good to maybe add in emotions. So you can, if you want to, you can bring that along in the multi-layer, or you can just work with everything up in the balance RX for 3 minutes. It's totally up to you. So then we could go to the emotions, and then what's next going on here. So again, we've got blood clots, we've got lack of circulation, we've got lung issues. Heart and lung are intimately connected. They are literally connected. Heart and lung, when you find your heart in the body, the lungs literally hug the heart in the body, and they need to be. There's a constant exchange of oxygen going to the heart, and then of course the oxygen being circulated by the heart to the rest of the body. So he's got a circulation issue. It sounds like nickel and dime psychology, but whenever anybody has a chronic heart issue, we always want to ask the question, where is their heart ache? Where is their broken heart? That is why sort of like my, one thing that never fails me almost across the board, you guys, is using hawthorn berry. Hawthorn berry. So Crataegus, because hawthorn berry, for anyone who has high blood pressure, anyone who has high cholesterol, anyone who has blood clots, remember hawthorn berry is plant spirit medicine. So we'll see if we can get a picture of hawthorn berry. Even when you look at it, you see the shiny, bright berries. It's like, looks like such a happy plant. And when you give hawthorn berry, I love to give it in a jam form, which is the hawthorn berry solid extract. And I usually get that from Gaia Herbs or Wise Woman Herbals. And people take it right off the spoon, or they take it as a tasty treat. And this is nourishing not just their physical heart, but it's nourishing their energetic heart. It's giving them love. Once I gave a webinar where an actual in-person seminar, and we had the hawthorn berry tea, and there was one woman who had really brought with her a lot of grief, and I think she drank half of the container of hawthorn berry tea. She just kept going back and going back and going back and drinking more. There's something about that particular tea that really, really drew her in. And so hawthorn berry is wonderful. And the interesting thing about Crataegus or hawthorn berry is it's been studied really, really well for physical ailments of the heart, congestive heart failure, high blood pressure, lots of other, lack of circulation in the body, atrial fibrillation, all of those things. There are pretty good studies out there for Crataegus, for hawthorn berry, for a lot of physical ailments. So then we've got the emotions. We look through the emotions. I'm always just sort of like just scrolling through the emotions, and I want to see where are the lowest emotions. Here is fear at -1. What's the difference between frustration and fear? The negative number doesn't indicate it's a negative emotion. It indicates that it is an implicit emotion. It's not as readily available to that person. So they're not so in touch with their fear. They might be really in touch with their frustration. Now, let me say this. Emotions are tricky. So if you go to this person and you say, "Are you frustrated?" they're probably not going to say, "Yeah, I'm frustrated all the time." Or if you say to them, "Are you fearful?" they're probably not going to say that they have fear. So I mean, I do tend to find that my male clients are a little bit more separated from their emotions, but not across the board. That would be an unfair gender bias, and it certainly isn't across the board. But sometimes I do. But anyway, fear and frustration, as we look through all of the different emotions here, maybe hope and pity being some other ones, I'm looking for the absolute lowest emotions here. And I might even just choose one. So I might just choose fear, right? If that seems to me intuitively like the one, now you just run that for 3 minutes. So while you're running the frequency, you could be talking to the person, you could be thinking about other remedies that you want to use or other panels that you want to look up. You can be having anybody that you're working with in biofeedback. I really suggest that you have a whole setup for them, which is usually I have a chair with an ottoman, so they have their feet up, but they can look at what's going on. They can look at the screen. I have it projected onto a large monitor that they can see and experience. And you may not want them to, you may want to project just, somebody told me the other day about somebody who's thinking about getting the Quantum Infinity system. They have a whole DVD of sacred geometry that they use. So you may want to just have them watch, I'm thinking about doing that when I take a look at it, just have them watch the sacred geometry the whole time. Don't let them worry about all the things that you're doing. Have them focus on images of sacred geometry. And I'm sure there's lots of different permutations that you can get online like this, because as they watch that, they're watching coherence. It would be like watching the fractal images from the water harmonizer. So that would be something that you may want to have them do during a session, but you want them to be relaxed while they're receiving the frequencies. And then you work in these 3-minute increments, and every time you're peeling a layer. So as you run the meridian, you peel a layer. As you run the emotion, you peel a layer, and then we want to see where we want to go next. You know, I'm often going into my customized panels because they allow me to go to deeper layers of the physiology or the pathology or find particular solutions for that person. Okay, let's see if you have any comments here. He's really defensive, and I am not worthy mode. Needs the 3 wise men for, oh, I'm assuming that's the Young Living Oil 3 wise men, for I am not lovable, PTSD from the Vietnam War and childhood. So I think everybody's on here. We can sort of send, I think we can say his first name, right? We could probably say his first name. We can send Chris some compassion and loving energy for his healing. And so just take a moment to send him some compassion and good vibration for really finding that worthiness within himself. You know, if you guys sort of are able to pinpoint what you think is the core belief, remember you can create that into a customized panel. So I am not worthy, I would create that into a customized panel and see if it resonates. And then you could certainly turn that around into I am worthy and, you know, run the heck out of that frequency with some solfeggios. I am completely worthy and deserving. You know, one of my friends used to say, you know, I discovered this affirmation for myself. I deserve the best. No, I am worthy, I deserve the best, and I accept it now. So she used to use that, and all of a sudden, you know, abundance would come into her life. He's really defensive. I am not worthy. So, you know, you can, all of those things you can start creating customized panels for. You know, defensive, you know, chronically defensive. I am not worthy, turn it around. I am divinely worthy. 3 wise men, put that on the panel. I am not lovable, I am lovable. PTSD, let's actually do this for him. let's see what some of the other things were. So this is something that I've been doing in my consultations, especially for people who want to work with me and have the quantum infinity system. And you can do this. You can also send them the frequencies through the Quanta capsule, which I think a lot more people are really using these days. So let's just say Chris, no last name, right? Healing frequencies. And of course, you could put this under their name as well. The only thing about, I just always lose it when I put it under their name because I can't go back and forth between my own frequencies. So I always like sort of forget where I am. I get a little disoriented. But you can just create this, you can create it under that person's name. That's what that function is actually for. And where is this? Okay. So this is a customized panel just for this gentleman. So what we put up here is chronically. You guys can be really good at this, right? You can, in fact, you guys, if you want to send me some ideas for him, I welcome your ideas. But you just put everything up here that is sort of, you could put the solutions and the problem. This is a Young Living Oil, right? The Three Wise Men, I think. I could be wrong there. Okay, and I won't do the whole thing, but I am divinely worthy. And you may come up with some amazing, fantastic affirmation for them, and that's your medicine. Your medicine is in crafting that perfect affirmation for them, which are that's the salve. It's the words that heal. I am lovable. But I mean, that is actually one of the most brilliant parts of the Quantum Infinity was this customized panel, because it opened up so many possibilities. And then we could just put PTSD, or we could, you can also make it a la sort of our Dear Dr. Kim. We could put, all of the solutions, which would be free of effects of PTSD. I'm not going to capitalize it, but you get the idea. So in other words, you're working from the problem to the solution. And then you test it to see what is resonating for him in particular. What are still the things that are sticky there for him? And we could even put in some of the other thoughts about the blood flow, the emotions. So this is a really powerful way to work with people in a very specific way that incorporates your intuition and what they already know. I find that people come to me frustrated because they've been to 10 other doctors, and so they're telling me all of the things that they already know are wrong with them. So why don't we just factor those in? Oh, it's it's a genetic change. It's the MTHFR gene. It's the fact that they were sexually abused as a child. Let's just put that all in there, and let's see which of the ones that are still sticking for them, right? So what's really sticking is this is one of the things that is causing him probably the most physical issue, Kelly, is that he's chronically defensive. So why is he defensive? What is it? And so when you're defensive, you're often protecting your heart, right? Because you're afraid of loss or being vulnerable, or not. Maybe you're defensive because you fundamentally do feel unlovable. So all of those things are sort of wrapped up in the whole equation. But it's really nice. I don't know any other technique except maybe muscle testing where you can just go in and it's like, let's just take all these things, let's toss them out at the wall. Which is the one that resonates the most? And it's being the chronically defensive. So it tells us that whatever we can do to help to heal that defensiveness, or find affirmations even to overcome the defensiveness. And we can run the frequency just for being chronically defensive, and that's probably not the highest resonance that we can run, but it's a start, and it tells us that that is the core issue that everything else sort of coalesces around. Love your neighbor as yourself. And then here is being free of effects of PTSD. So that is a state. That's the state that he wants to be in. So what we're doing is we're calling out that particular frequency. We want him to be free of the effects of PTSD. So that would be a wonderful to run with the toroidal field, right? Because that's really dynamic. That's what we ultimately want. We may have to be more nuanced about how we get there. He may need some more affirmations. He may need some Young Living oils. We may not get him there just with that frequency, but that's really the frequency that we want. So it sort of embodies a lot of things that we want, that he ultimately wants. He wants to be free of those effects of PTSD because it is still affecting him in some way, very, very likely physical. There is the PTSD itself. And then the divinely worthy. The divinely worthy is resonating, but not as strongly as we might like it to. So now we want to go back and we want to recheck. Some of these things will shift and change after you do a little bit of balancing, so don't be upset by that. Some of the things will shift and change when we test them again, and that's okay. But now we want to fine tune. So you go back in here, and it's like, what is the affirmation for him that will really make the difference? You can also put in here liver, heat, whatever else that you think is going on. Lung. So do you guys have an idea? Does anybody have an affirmation? You may have already put it in the comments section that you think that would be powerful for him. If you have an intuition or an idea about that, then write it in the chat box and let's find something that would be really incredible, and then we can export this panel to Kelly. And Mary Lee says, all is well in my life. I love the Abraham teachings on this, that no matter what is happening, all is well. All is well. And isn't it more than not that when you start to realize that, gosh, you know what, all really is well. I live in a great, community, and, I have food on the table, and I feel, good. You start to realize how much things are really well. But no matter what's happening, all is well. That's a lot. That's a very deep, deep truth if you think about it. So I am divinely protected. And could chronically defensive also be hypervigilant from PTSD? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, so more in sympathetic mode. Fear was very chronic on emotions. Absolutely. Absolutely. With PTSD, Young Living's trauma life could be really powerful. I love Annette's has just such an extensive knowledge of all of the oils. You're such a treasure that way, Annette. We really, really appreciate that information that you bring. Life is so sweet, and so am I. That's from Janet. Janet, that's hilarious. That's so playful and wonderful. Life is sweet, and so am I. Okay. That's a really beautiful one. They also talk about sweetness when people have blood sugar issues, that they're not really able to connect with the sweetness of life, that when they're able to be more playful and connect with the sweetness of life, that their pancreas energetically starts to resonate at a higher frequency and work better. Pam says, I love and forgive myself. That's always so powerful. That's the Ho'oponopono. I always forget Opono. You know what I'm talking about. That is all about forgiveness. I love and forgive myself. That thank you, I love you, please forgive me. All of those words are so powerful. I have to say I was a bit upset when we sent President Obama over to Hiroshima, and he politically was not allowed to say that we're sorry. And I thought, how sad is that? One of the most powerful words that we want to say is, I'm sorry. And I am sorry that we did that to so many people in such a silly pursuit of power and a misunderstanding of people and power and love in the world. So I am sorry, and that could have been a very, very healing salve to say that. But we'll move past that. I move gracefully with change and life is good. Okay, we'll just do life is good because we're going to run out of time. So thank you guys for all of those. Let's see, what I wanted to do is I wanted to see which one is sort of sticking with our dear Chris here and see which one is really powerful for him. So you're always coming up with your own ideas and intuition, and absolutely trust your intuition. And often as a healer, the quantum infinity can help you to fine-tune and to really hone your intuitive abilities and to see that what you're thinking is really, really right on. So the three wise men really resonated. All is well in my life. That's really, really an important affirmation for Chris. Really important. I'm sure that PTSD is still pushing that out of balance. But, you're not in danger. All is well. You're safe. That might be another one. All of those things might be in play. But 25, that's such a powerful low number. So that's a really strong. Now, again, the low numbers, they tell us what is going to have the most impact on that person if you run the frequency. So this informs you whenever you get overwhelmed, oh my gosh, what should I do? What do I run? How many do I put in there? Take the lowest one or take the lowest three. What the low tells us is it's the place where the energy is not moving. And it is so not moving. So we've got that sort of compression of the number. That's what that means. And so we want to open that up. We want to invite energy in there. So it informs us that this is where we have the most likelihood of having a breakthrough. And it tells us where the energy is really catching powerfully for that person, where that matches with that particular energy field. So I am divinely worthy. That's one that's really important. You hit the nail on the head, Kelly, about the worthiness. That's a really, really deep theme. So you could put that in there, or you could run it at a different time. You could run it in. You could run three 1-minute frequencies. So you could put one in, 1-minute frequency, take it out, put another one in, 1-minute frequency, take it out, put another one in. You could also come into this panel with the toroidal field down in the multi-layer. Now, I didn't think ahead enough to do that, but if you come, now you can't really go backwards, right? But you could come into this and put the toroids down here, or the 528 solfeggio, or whatever it is that you want, down in the multi-layer, then come into your customized panel, and then you could do a multi-element phase while you're in here, and you could keep switching things in the Balance RX. So there's lots of different things that you can do here. Another one is I love and forgive myself. So another, more powerful word. So there's something about loving himself and forgiveness that's deeply powerful here. And this other one again, I am lovable. So you may have to drill down deeper. You might have to then, because then you start to, now it's powerful just to run the frequency, but then you can ask, like, why does he not feel lovable? And this you may not be able to get to the first session. You have to develop rapport with your client. But why does he not feel lovable? What's at the core of that? And then add that to the customized panel or create a new customized panel. So you might just come up with some theories about why they don't feel lovable. Something that happened in childhood, something that happened maybe in the battlefield, something that happened, maybe they'll be able to tell you. You could come up with a bunch of theories, and then you can test them through using this customized panel, either the same one or a new one, which is Chris, past abuses or experiences or past traumas just for that person. So this allows your testing to really come to life, to really be very in the moment, and to really set you up for having incredible breakthroughs in what you're doing. And I found this really, really helpful in the work that I'm doing, because so many people will tell you what is going on with them. Well, I know I have this, I know I have this, I think I still have this, I think this is, and so, all right, well, let's just throw them all up there and let's just test all of them. And then some of them don't resonate at all, which is really, really powerful. So, okay, a couple of things to sum things up, you guys. Again, we can see the three wise men, life is good, lung imbalance. So final thoughts, and then I just want to summarize, is lung is related to not just people related to grief, but the lung is the way that we relate to the outside world. Literally, the membrane, right, the internal membrane, the mucous membrane of the lungs is interacting with your outside environment. How you relate to other people in the world and how you connect with other people is very much connected to lung health. So if you have a healthy community and a healthy connection with people, lungs are good. If you see lungs out of balance, there may be something that is asking to be worked on in that area. Remember to register for the Assemblage Point class. It's going to be a breakthrough class. I definitely want you to have those frequencies when you're working with your clients. It's a really, really powerful piece of the whole picture. Also, we have the Young Living Oils class tonight. If there's anything that you didn't get or any questions that you have for me, I'm usually around answering emails for about an hour after class. So you can email me, Ariel@awakentotalhealth.com, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. I have lots of customized panels and other webinars that are available for download. Now, we don't have Healers Roundtable next Tuesday, but I will be having some free other webinars coming up. And of course, I'm always here on this Thursday for our advanced training. I really appreciate everyone being here. I hope you got something out of the case. Keep your cases coming. You're welcome to send me a case today that we'll work on next week. So if you have a provocative, really a good, juicy case, or even you just want people to be sending you energy, that's okay. That's why we create community. We have wonderful classes coming up at quantumlifeeducation.com. Have the best, wonderful, and generous teachers in our community, so check out their classes, and Karen hosts some great people, so check those out, and I will be back with you next Thursday. Have a wonderful, prosperous, abundant, healthy week filled with lots of love and vitality. Take care, everyone, and be well. Bye-bye for now.